There, welcome to the show. 2 channels here, now you know. Like and subscribe, it's all we need. Alternate juror here to speak. And defense rest, take a peek. Collaborating for your eyes. Sharing content, no surprise. Together we shine brighter than one. Join our journey, it's just begun. Like and subscribe, hit that bell. Enjoy the show and wish us well.
Hello. Why is it just me?
Because I have to click everyone individually. I can't work it out.
Well, hello, Devitt. I like your first name. Good first name. And
Oh, hello.
Flash fan.
Welcome.
And Gabby, who doesn't like glitter. Oh, she's got a puppy dog.
All right, this is going to take me a while to get used to this new system. But, yeah. Because every time you speak, my sound goes down. But I can hear. Anyway, I'll get used to it. Anyway, welcome. Welcome. I'm the defense rest. We have the alternate jury here, and we have Mr. Brybear, who completes us.
And does laundry. Just wondering why he's coming over to my house.
And I've got a little device here just for Gabby.
Uh-oh.
I've just got to work out how to use it properly, that's all.
Uh-oh.
But I'm pretty sure she'll like this one.
Good morning, Gabby. How are you today? Are you having a good day? Did you have a good date with your husband yesterday and watch a good movie?
Did you like that?
I'm thinking of poor Deb. She's like, what did I come into? Don't worry, we don't have any glitter.
I thought you might. I've got a few different things up my sleeve now. At the push of a button. Except I had a bit of a IT meltdown just before we went live because I didn't test the sound. Anyway, that's
what we do.
Welcome. Today we are going to cover the CHAD Doerman trial. Well, or lack of, basically. CHAD Doerman was set to go to trial for the unaliving of his 3 sons in July of this year. And then he applied for, because it was such a horrific case, he applied to have the death penalty taken off the table due to mental defect or insanity pleading. And apparently the state and the defence both wanted specific assessments done, and it was going to be like a mini trial, so it got continued to February of 2025. But just recently, I think it was last Friday, Mr. Doerman entered a plea deal. So I thought we would do a presentation from the start as to right all the way through as to what's gone on, what's happened since then, and then we can cover the actual plea. And seeing as Bry's the only one that watched the plea video, he can help explain the sentencing. I'm passing the buck right there. I wasn't sure which video to which video to share. And I said to him, I can either do the 2-minute one or I can do the 47-minute one. He said, I watched the 1.5-hour one. I said, all right, well, that's yours then. So I tried to organise something, Deb, that didn't have all the
words.
extras. Yeah.
I think it'll be okay because it's news. So, like, that's why I think, Court TV, Law and Crime get away with what they say because they're news, they're media.
It wasn't just news, it was verbal, it was on the screen, it was everything.
Oh, well.
And it's not gratuitous. It's like you said, news. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I just was stressing, that's all. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Flash Fan. Tech geniuses. Yes, we are.
Don't you forget it, Flash Fan.
All right. So I won't tell the story because, well, that defeats the purpose of me making a video. That tells the story. So I'll put it on. All right.
All right.
Yeah. Let's do it. Make sure I got the right one.
Yeah, we're both in row.
Yeah, can you hear that?
1616.
I can hear it. We'll have to see if they can.
6 Robert 2960. The female in the background screaming, my baby. We've got EMS dispatch now as well.
29 route 27.
Can everyone hear that properly? It's just the dispatch audio that you can hear at the moment. It's nothing. Just boost a little bit just in case. Excellent. Just wasn't sure how it was going to work with this new fandangled flashy thing. Okay, let's go.
29, you're clear. We're cool.
6 Robert 87 clear as well.
Clear.
Number 51, check up.
51 as well.
1617.
955 Lindale Road. Cross off Franklin Law Road and Claremontville Laurel Road. Unknown problem. Medic 33. Engine 32. Respond on fire ground 5. 16, 17 hours.
Where's he at?
He's shooter stand the porch.
Get him right here. You got him on the porch.
We've asked, that's the last place we've been told.
You show me your hands now! Stand up and walk towards us! Stand up now! Walk towards us! Stand up with your hands up!
29, we got a visual in the mail. Not showing his hands, not following commands.
Stand up now!
Not showing hands, so we're following commands. His name is Chad Doerman. Chad Doerman.
I know, but we can't.
If people need first aid and he's not complying, and you know he's a shooter, shoot him.
We gotta find cover first. We ain't no good if we ain't safe ourselves. Hey, no. We need to come from this side where we can see them. Don't take cover behind her. We see them. We're going to approach from this side. We got cover. Right here.
6 Robert 29 and 63 check out.
We're not working right now.
Show us your fucking hands now! Stand up! Stand up! Stand up! Stand up now! Stand up! Stand the fuck up!
EMS to stage and air carrier is going to go ahead and fly whenever any units can advise.
Get your hands out of here.
72.
Cover 21. Send the air.
If those guys can confirm that there's people that need first aid and that's the shooter who's not complying, they need to take care of the
I got it.
victims. They have to shoot him and shoot Man, I ain't trying to hurt nobody or nothing. I'm completely sober. Never did drugs a day in my life.
21. Get the EMS over here.
Well, I did drugs when I was little, but I don't do drugs now. I'm sober. I'm not trying to fight you.
So that lady in the background is the mother of the 3 children, and the black square is the redaction of where one of the children is laying, and the police officer is actually trying to do some CPR.
63.
Get your butt inside. Yellen, get your butt inside.
We on primary?
Now.
29, we got 3 kids down.
3 kids down, 16 kids up.
Yellen.
63, we're 21.
Knock
Have
it off.
EMS respond over here.
You're clear, they're being advised.
Robert 34, just started mass casualty response.
63, do you want to respond to the Laurel Lindale address? Where exactly do you need them?
We're right in the front yard.
He took my life from me! My life!
What are you doing, man?
Hey, are you copying all this? Can I roll over? I ain't gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You got anything on you?
No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it. I ain't mad. I ain't nothing.
How calm is he? How,
It's disgusting. Like I'm
when I
not gonna
first
do
this, that's what got me.
go tell the dog to get inside. Your kids are laying over there. Gone.
Yep. Yep. Can I roll over? I'm not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Already did everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Just make sure that dog don't come out. I don't think he'll bite you. Just don't reach for him and try to grab him and pet him.
All right.
He won't bite you.
What's going on, man?
Nothing. Can I stand up? It's kind of uncomfortable.
I'm going to
I
get
ain't
you
gonna
here
do
in a
nothing. I ain't running
second.
away. You can do whatever you want with me.
Good morning, Chad.
Here. You the only one else inside the house?
What?
You the only one else inside the house?
Yeah.
Sit down right here.
My daughter, she ran over to the fire department.
Sit down.
It's my stepdaughter.
Put him in the cage.
This is Will.
Road. Unknown problem. Medic.
Have a listen to what the officer says to him on the way back to the squad car.
33. Engine 32. Respond on.
72.
Tell him we're 21.
Didn't know that.
This is Will. This is Will. This is Will.
They're all being advised they've requested 2 additional medics. There's also aircraft flying, but they need an LV and not a copy.
Can you get the wallet out of my back pocket?
Shut up, dude. You had the right to remain silent, you fucking use it.
Yes, sir.
Been released.
Can you tell how many people have been shot?
I think 2 children.
Okay. All right. I need. What was
that
your
I've seen?
There's a girl running down the street saying that her stepfather is killing everyone in her family.
And what did the female say to you?
And she says that her stepfather is killing everybody in her house. I did. I'm on the phone with them right now.
Did she say how or what was happening?
I asked her to get in the car with me, and she said she couldn't leave her family.
Oh my gosh. 32-year-old Chad Doerman admitted to the slayings and will be in court next week for him.
Trauma that this man has inflicted on his family, the community, law enforcement, first responders, and all of the rest of us who have any idea what's going on here is unspeakable. There's been a full admission in this case, Judge. The case is still new. We're still discovering facts. But the evil horror of what we know is impossible to process. In an act of just incomprehensible cruelty, the father that stands before you lined up his 3 young boys, and he executed them in his own home with a rifle. They were ages 3, 4, and 7, Judge. In an act of desperation to save her children, the mother at some point grabbed the gun that father was wielding to attempt to protect them. We know that one of the boys was able to flee into a field near the home. And again, we know from his admission, father hunted that boy down, drug him back to the property, and executed him in front of witnesses. The mother was shot through the hand in her attempt to protect her children. Judge, I asked the court in setting this bond to just begin to imagine their fear. This was the man that every day they woke up looking to for protection, love, guidance in all things. Man they trust more than any other person on earth. Person they rely upon to keep them safe from harm. He was their world, he was their guardian, and he executed them in cold blood. We know that from his admission.
It all began, according to the document, shortly after Chad Doerman came home early from work and asked his wife and 3 boys to join him in the master bedroom for a nap. The document says Doerman grabbed a Marlin model HC-22 caliber rifle from next to the bed in a gun safe and shot one son twice. Investigators say Doerman's wife immediately began to render aid to her son and yelled for her other children to run. The document says Doerman's stepdaughter walked into the room and witnessed the shooting and ran out of the back of the home, chasing after her brother, who was already running toward a field. Doerman, according to the document, gave chase and began shooting, hitting his son, knocking him to the ground. Doerman then walked up to his son, where he fired one shot into his head at close range. The document then lays out how the stepdaughter ran back toward the house and picked up the youngest son, Chase, and tried to run from the property. Doerman caught up to them and demanded that she put Chase down. When she did, Doerman attempted to shoot his son in the head, but the gun didn't fire. At that point, Chase ran to his mother on the side of the house where she was rendering aid to her other son. Doerman would eventually shoot Chase at close range, killing him.
All right, so this is once he was charged, he decided to plead not guilty for reasons of insanity. So they filed that motion on April the 30th to take the death penalty off the table, because apparently there was a new law that was signed in Claremont County that the death penalty could be removed if there was proof of insanity. So that's what I was trying to explain before. Both sides wanted their own independent assessments done, and that was going to take quite some time. So they postponed the trial from July to February. Come on, next one. Next. L. So once he was arrested, apparently they failed to advise him of his Miranda rights before they interrogated him. So that also got, they had a hearing about that, and the judge agreed that any of his confession that he made immediately after he was arrested was not to be used at court. It was inadmissible because they didn't give him his Miranda rights. It was violated.
And I don't, even though we watched that and we did hear the detective testify about not reading all of the right Miranda warning to him, which was stupid. I don't think they needed his confession necessarily. There was too much evidence already there he would have been found guilty even without it. So I don't think they needed it, but it was a stupid mistake. And not only, it was just stupid. I don't even want to call it a mistake. It was laziness.
I think they were just so angry. They just couldn't see past that.
But like I said, you just got to read it off a card.
Yeah.
That's what his attorneys were asking the detective. Like, you have the card? You all get one.
It's not
All
like
of
a
you
set
carry it with you.
right?
You just had to take it out and read it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just didn't do that. You just
No.
said what you wanted and skipped part of it.
Correct. So obviously he was fit to, I believe they've done the assessments and he was fit to stand trial. And we go from there. Come on. All right, so this was, I did it again. Because I've saved it as an MP4, I was trying to click into. All right, so this is the defence's motion to exclude the death penalty due to serious mental illness at time of offence.
I hate his tears.
Yeah. So the court ruled the prosecutors couldn't use the statements or audio and video recordings from his initial interrogation. The judge's decision said that the defendant's Miranda rights were violated. After the defendant unequivocally and unambiguously invoked his right to counsel when he told Detective Michael Ross, "I'll wait for a lawyer. I don't know. Give me a couple of days. I can talk to a lawyer and get nice, good answers." But when I watched another clip the other day, he was asking for Ruby Frankie, who was not a lawyer, and he was asking for his father as well, who is also not an attorney. So the when the detective testified at that hearing, he was under the impression that he hadn't requested an attorney because neither of those had a certificate. So
well, I think AJ's right. It wouldn't have made any difference. The only thing that on the bright side is it would have made for a shorter trial because we wouldn't have been able to have to sit through all of those videos of the interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
But there was definitely enough evidence to convict him of this.
Right.
What defense would they have brought if they didn't get the insanity?
Yep.
No. Hence the plea deal. We'll get to that though. Should make my slides shorter. Oh, this is, and I've made it too small. Let's see if I can make the screen bigger. Did that one? There it is. Woohoo! Okay, defendant contends that he is a person with a serious mental illness who is entitled to be excluded from the possibility of a death sentence pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, blah, blah, blah. A person who commits capital aggravated M whilst suffering from certain serious illnesses, mental illnesses, is ineligible for a death sentence if one of the qualifying mental illnesses significantly impaired the person's capacity to exercise rational judgment in relation to the person's conduct with respect to either of the following: conforming a person's conduct to the requirements of law, or appreciating the nature, consequences, or wrongfulness of the person's conduct. I won't bother reading. We know what that is. Exit this way. Right, play. Is that right, Flash Fan? It was on Monday. Oh, okay. Why has that come up so soon? Where'd the rest of it go? Really? I'll have to come back to that. Hang on. Thanks, Gabby. I'm still trying to sort out how this thing works. Sorry. And I put those slides in the wrong order. I was in a bit of a rush in the end. Sorry. So I do have the victim impact statements from the mother, Laura, and from the daughter, I think it's Alexia. I haven't actually watched this entire plea deal hearing. They may have the victim impact statements in there. If they don't, I do have them. So it's still a bit muffled, is it? Heck, damn it. Oh, is that better?
I think so. I mean, you were okay with me. Hi, Grandma.
Hey, Grandma. See, I can't even hear that cheer. Was that loud?
It's I mean, it's kind of loud. I don't know how it is on their end though, because it can all be different.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to play around with it.
And I swore I heard Gabby say, "Hey, Grandma." So get out of my head, Gabby. I think it was actually you said it, Jody, but it sounded like Gabby. Because I was looking around, I thought, did she boop in? Where is she? I don't see her.
Oh, so now it's too loud, is it? Yeah, I've had to change my mic to a condenser, and everything's running through this different soundboard that I've got to.
I think so.
I'll get
the
there.
Applause, yeah, the applause was probably loud, and then you are not loud to me.
Okay.
But every once in a while, I start echoing when you touch things over there. When you
Twinsies. I can't believe how quick that video went. That took me 3 hours.
Oh yeah, isn't that nice?
Never mind. So I got a couple. I sent a couple of. Oh, that's right. Here we go. Okay. I sent a couple of clips. I saved a couple of clips and sent them over to my email address. So I'm just going to have to do it backwards instead of sharing on YouTube. A couple of different aspects. Let's have a look. Play.
On that pause, he looks about as crazy as
and
Mr.
body
Doerman. Sorry.
Chad Doerman was recently arrested for the murder of his 3 children.
That's not
He's
very
since
easy.
pled not guilty despite admitting to the murders and also admitting to planning the murders from what has been reported. What we're going to be looking at today is various segments of his body language. We're going to look at the body cam footage as well as him in court. Before we get started, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. So there's a lot that we don't know about Chad Doerman at this point, but from what we know, he was arrested previously for domestic abuse, which is going to work against him for sure. There's also been reports from his father that he quote unquote snapped. He believes that's what happened from what I have read. There's still a lot of information for us to find out, but let's see what we can glean, what information we can better understand about him by watching some of his footage.
Yes,
let's jump right into this body cam footage from the day of his arrest. All right, so there he is sitting on the stoop of his doorstep. There's a gun right next to him. Obviously, police officers would be very uncomfortable and agitated in a situation like this when someone has a gun. Fortunately, he's not holding it. But obviously, this could be escalated to a really bad place very quickly. Strangely enough, considering that he just murdered 3 people, he's sitting very calmly and very still. So let's get more of an idea of what he's like as it approaches. If you've already seen this, you'll know that his behavior is a bit peculiar.
Just a touch.
So I think anybody watching this immediately would react to the fact that he was just sitting there waiting for the police when they got there. He wasn't holding his gun. He didn't really say anything. Right now, he seemed to be maybe resisting a tiny bit, but not much. Essentially, he's just letting himself get arrested. Let's keep watching.
That's the shooter. He's not complying. They need to take care of the victims. They have to shoot him and shoot him. Man, I ain't trying to hurt nobody. We're completely sober. 63, we're 21. Get the EMS over.
All right. I believe you could just hear him talking. I'm going to try to tell you what he said. It's a little bit hard to understand.
He says, I'm completely sober. I've never done any drugs in my life. Don't know whether I believe him or not.
Good for him.
Dogs to bother the police. He's yelling at the dog to go inside.
Get your butt inside. We on primary? Now. 29, we got 3 kids now.
And what a horrifying situation this is. The children are in the front yard, or at least one of the children is, and that's blacked out right now. So the bizarreness of this situation cannot be overstated.
What are you doing, man?
Hey, are you copying all this? Can I roll over? I ain't gonna.
The level of casualness about this is remarkable. Even if he had some sort of break, even if he was psychotic, like the level of calmness here is shocking. He seems so detached from what's going on, but at the same time, he is showing an awareness of what's happening. He is showing awareness that these are police. He's interacting with them, making sure that he's telling them, I'm sober, I'm not on drugs, and all of these things. So it's a very peculiar situation.
I'm gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna hurt nobody. You got anything on you? No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it.
Along with, there has to be some kind of separation from the reality of what's happened in order to maintain this level of calm. Now we're going to watch a quick minute of him being booked from the local news. This will not be a lot of footage, but I wanted you to see a couple of things that tell us a little bit about what's going on. All right, let's go.
Actions that he had with the deputy while he was waiting to go through the booking process.
Have you ever been here before?
I think one time for fight with dad.
All right, so one thing that tells us is that he is oriented to where he is. He recognizes he's in a police station. He recognizes the situation. That's significant.
Don't be doing that, man. Don't be beating your head on the wall, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so now, as you see, he just hit his head on a wall. Once again, that goes back to some strange behavior. I don't know what the intention of that was, but it's still peculiar. And that's the kind of stuff that we have to look out for, more peculiar behavior. So now we're going to watch a little bit of his bond hearing. Obviously, this would have been after the murders had occurred, but it was very shortly after this had occurred.
Thank you, Mr.
So obviously his posture is a little bit peculiar. He's overly upright. The eyes just straight forward, stationary, little expression. His eyes are raised, which we oftentimes associate with surprise, but it wasn't like a spontaneous eye raise. They're just staying there. So I don't think that has so much to do with surprise.
Incomprehensible cruelty, the father that stands before you lined up.
So what we see now is CHAD Doerman starting to tear up. And the question is always, is this authentic? Are these real tears? Is this somebody faking it? Let's watch a little bit more, and I'll give you my impressions as we go.
Up his 3 young boys, and he executed them in his own home with a rifle. They were ages 3, 4, and 7, Judge. In an act of desperation.
It's so interesting because it seems like he is trying to not react, or else there is something that is disconnected with the way that this man is operating. The fact that he looks more unusual today than he did the day he was arrested, and I think that that's worth noting.
And again, we know from his admission, father hunted that boy down, drug him back to the property, and executed him in front of witnesses.
So you can see what appears to be real emotion right now. So he is upset. He is crying based on what is being said right now. Does that mean anything deeply as far as his culpability in terms of what he did? No, of course not. But it's interesting that he's having a real reaction, because we've seen people try to fake tears or act like they're crying and they can't get any tears to come out. He does genuinely seem upset right now. And also, once again, he almost hasn't moved this whole time. He's just staring straight forward. And I don't think that's an intentional way to try to hide his body language. We see that sometimes where people will try not to move. I don't think that he has that level of awareness right now. I just think his behavior is a bit odd.
Acts will ever be our misfortune to see. To make things even more disturbing, Judge, this was no haphazard act again. by his own admission, he plunges before this court. Judge,
it's a bit harder.
It's important.
So this was a really interesting interaction that we just saw as he was listening to the attorney. This appeared to be real tears. I think this is genuine emotion, but then he's able to rein it in very quickly. And once again, there's an odd disconnect between this man and the rest of the world around him. He seems to be aware of what's going on. He seems to be aware of what he did based on the fact that he's reacting to it. But he also seems oddly disconnected. I just want you to keep paying attention to the way that he presents, because it's different from the first day to this day. And we're going to keep watching.
Judge, it's important. The prior record goes, Judge, it is fairly minimal. He was charged with domestic violence in 2010. He is not, to my knowledge.
So he was charged with domestic violence in 2010. An important point, I am sure, for both the defense and the prosecution as it moves forward.
On probation committee control.
Yep.
We're going to ask this court to issue a bond we've never asked for before. I'm going to ask for a bond of $20 million. I hope.
So if you watch closely, he seems to almost have a behavior that looked a little bit tickish. Just watch his face right now.
We've never asked for before. I'm going to ask for a bond of $20 million. No, Judge. Sir, down.
So this was confusing to me. And if somebody that's watching this can clarify what he's talking about, please do. It sounded like he said something about CCO2. And I don't know what that means. And so the question is he responding to something coherently? Is that just gibberish? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. To me, it just sounds like nonsense, but maybe there is some meaning to it. So whether or not there's meaning to what he's saying would help us interpret whether or not he is disconnected from reality or whether or not he is participating, because it sounded like he's just saying things that don't make any sense. Let's watch that again.
A $20 million cash or surety. Anything else at this time, Mr. Guest?
No, Judge.
Mr. Count. Mr. Count, anything?
And he's looking at them almost like he was talking to them and he might expect a response. So to me, this speaks to the idea that there is something about him that is a little bit bizarre.
Further? Nothing at this time. All right, thank you.
See, he looks calm again there. It's like almost like he can just switch it.
Yeah, and he turned and kind of grinned at him.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of gross. But I have no idea what CCO2 means. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't even know if the 99% of the court documents were sealed, so I doubt the assessments were done. But Dr. G does a lot of competency assessments to see whether they're fit to stand trial and participate actively in their own defence, which is why I chucked him on. But we shall go to the plea hearing. Maybe
those are hard to...
Could be a combination of a few things.
Yeah. Those are hard to be like, yeah, that's for sure what it is. It's not like, TV.
Yeah. This is where you come in, Bri. You can elaborate what you need.
Brian, put down the laundry.
We are here on State of Ohio versus Chad Doerman, case number 2023 CR 407. Mr. Doerman is present with counsel, Mr. Myers, and Mr. Haynes. The state's present, represented by and through Mr. Colby, the county prosecutor, Laura Barron Allen, first assistants, Catherine Terpstra, and Mr. Clay Clark. And we're here this afternoon because I have been advised that a plea agreement has been reached in this matter. And there's a couple of things that we need to address before going into that lengthy process. First of all, there's obviously media here. They're live streaming this. There will be two of the victims are going to appear this afternoon. And at least initially, statements are going to be read on their behalf, and they may address the court as well. They have requested, and pursuant to Ohio Superintendent's Rule 12, they're not to be imaged in any fashion by the media. There are not to be any still photographs taken of them, period. There's not to be any videotaping when they appear. There's to be no image of them, period. Cannot be live streamed. It's my understanding that Ms. Marinella, and they read the statements and they can hear the statements, but do not, under any circumstances, photograph them or videotape them when they come into the courtroom, when they are standing at the podium, and when they leave the courtroom. So I hope all of you understand that. I'm sure you do. You're professionals, so make sure you follow that admonition. Mr. Myers, anyone from Mr. Norman's family going to speak that would not want to be imaged as well?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. And then there's a couple of other things that we're going to put on the record initially, just to clarify some waivers. As will become more apparent throughout this process and the plea that is going to be entered, there are two things that could be applicable, but really will not be applicable. Two of the charges that Mr. Doermen will be entering pleas to this afternoon are felonious assault. They are second-degree felony offenses. In Ohio, under the Reagan-Tokes Act, there are certain notices that I have to provide to anyone who is sentenced under the Reagan-Tokes Act. There are notices as to when they may be released. And as I've indicated, as we go through this process, those notices are absolutely inapplicable here. And for me to go through that process, number one, would be simply a vain act because they will not be applicable. So as to the Reagan-Tokes piece of this, is that your understanding, Mr. Colby, that that can be waived?
I understand, Judge, yes.
And Mr. Myers, on behalf of Mr. Doermen, it's your understanding that he's willing to waive those notices.
That is correct.
And just for the record, I mean, there will be times when I ask both you and Mr. Haynes to comment, but primarily I'll address questions to Mr. Colby and to you. And that's no slight to anyone else. That's just easier. All right.
Interrupt. Something just occurred to me that the defense would like to acknowledge and agree that before we went on record for this hearing at, I believe, 1:15 this afternoon, the state caused me filed an entry signed by this court.
I'm getting to that.
Okay. Acknowledge jurisdiction.
No, that's on my checklist.
All right.
The second item is Mr. Doermen is going to be entering a plea of guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder. And there were aggravating circumstances returned on all of those, which obviously made him eligible for the death penalty. The state, as part of the plea agreement, which will be discussed shortly, has dismissed those 9, all the aggravated circumstances in each of the 9 aggravated murder counts. So those aggravated circumstances have been dismissed. That entry has been filed with the clerk and is a record. So consequently, this is no longer considered a capital case. And Mr. Colby, that's your understanding, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and Mr. Myers, that's your understanding as well?
Yes.
And the reason we put that on the record is because in all other proceedings, when this was a capital case, there was a court reporter physically present taking notes, which is required, or transcribing the events, which is required. And because this is no longer a capital case, the court reporter is not present. Obviously, it's being recorded. All these microphones pick up the sound, but that's the reason why we have made that part of the record. And then the other piece of this is, given the nature of the offenses that Mr. Doermen will be entering a plea to, normally he would be required to register as a violent offender. Again, as we work through this, the violent offender registration is inapplicable. And rather than read something that is essentially a vain act, similar to Reagan-Tokes, to read that's a vain act because it doesn't apply. Both state and the defense are waiving any necessity for me reviewing the violent offender registration requirements. And Mr. Colby, correct?
That is correct, Judge.
And Mr. Myers, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you. So we're going to...
He actually explains this process and how he comes to his sentencing really, really well.
To start this plea process, it's a lengthy process. It's important to know that I don't want any people leaving in and out of the courtroom. You're here, you're here. If you leave, I prefer you don't come back because it's disruptive. And I prefer not to have disruptions for obvious reasons. It's a very serious process, and we need to get through this effectively and efficiently. This is not a race, but it's much better if there's just no in and out of the courtroom, except for the fact that the victims will be brought in at some point in time. They're not here now. And so I'll go ahead and then get started with this. And again, I've acknowledged counsel and parties, and we have, and I also know that the victims have been notified of this hearing, and they are present. I've already discussed the requirements of the media regarding photographing the victims when they are here. And the two victims that will be here, at least at this point, will be Laura Doerman and Alexis Skeen, Mr. Doerman's former wife and stepdaughter. And those are the only two that will be here. And obviously that prohibition of recording in any fashion will apply to them. And initially, Mr. Colby, if you would represent, if you would state on the record the nature of the plea agreement that has been entered into in this matter.
Yes, thank you, Judge. It is an agreement, Your Honor, between the state and the defense that the defendant will enter a guilty plea to count 1, aggravated murder. That involves the killing of Clayton. The defendant will enter a guilty plea to count 2, aggravated murder. That involves the killing of Hunter. Guilty plea to count 3, aggravated murder, involving the killing of Chase. Will also enter guilty pleas to counts 18, felonious assault. That involves the actions he took against Alexis Skeen. And he will enter a guilty plea to count 20, felonious assault, for the actions he took against Laura Doerman. The additional recommendation, Your Honor.
Do you think they'll release any of the documents now, unseal them, now that he's taken the plea deal?
Hard to say, but I would guess not, but it's hard to say.
I think some news organization will probably file for it.
I wouldn't mind seeing the assessment myself.
They might release parts of it. I don't think they'll release like anything that really had to do with any of the kids.
No. More his mental health assessment is whether he was competent.
Well, I do hope that there's something somewhere where he said why he did this, because I have been scouring the internet and I cannot find a motive.
Yeah, I don't think he's
coming up with a motive.
I don't think he's, unless it was a threat of divorce and custody issue was lingering there, and that was him punishing her.
Well, the closest to anything, I think, even at one of the hearings, the prosecutor said there were no warning signs that, this just came out of the blue. It was light and clear blue sky. So
I don't know. And by the way, Jody, I'm the no on your poll. I'll explain later.
I'm on the fence. I think that I'm glad it didn't go to trial, mainly for the family's sake, so they don't have to relive all of this again. And I think it was a futile exercise and a waste of taxpayers' money. But I'm not happy with what he's copped because
I was on the fence. I was on the fence also, and I think that the only reason I voted yes was that the victims and family agreed. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me.
Yes,
But
and I agree.
if there was a D penalty case, this is it.
Yes, and I don't know that there's any, for me, there's not a way to get justice in this.
No, there's no restitution for the family. Get those kids back.
So no matter what happened, I'm glad he didn't go to trial because so the family doesn't have to relive it. These poor people are going to relive it today or when they through their victim impact. But there's just no way to get it in this for me. I don't know what it would be because whether he's here or not here, it doesn't change anything for those people. They're living with it for the rest of their lives. And I'm glad he has to live with it for the rest of his. Not to be cold, but
no, but he's living off, the taxpayer dollar as well. And his wife's probably out there struggling and he doesn't have to worry where his next meal's coming from.
I have actually heard it's cheaper to house them for life than it is through a DP because of all the appeal. Like I think it's all the appeals and everything and all the years that it takes that it costs a lot more money taxpayer wise
tens of millions of dollars
on those cases than it does to just put them there and let them whatever.
And how much does it cost the state already to get to this point 12 months down the track?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
It's obviously shown that he was competent to stand trial, otherwise he wouldn't have taken the plea. So, yeah. What? So if he was found competent and they took the death penalty off and it went to trial, it would have cost even more money. And he obviously was prepared to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the state cares. Honestly, they'll spend whatever they have to. But I just, as far as like the people that are paying for it, it is a cheaper this way. And for me, it has the potential to be a longer sentence. And he gets to sit there longer than he might in the other way in a capital punishment case. Why does he get to take the easy way out of
I think that was the wife's reason for agreeing. She said, well, if I have to live with it with the rest of my life, he does too.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Good morning, Chrissy.
Morning, Chrissy.
Yay, I'm always excited.
All right.
Is that count 1 will be life without parole, consecutive to count 2, which will be life without parole, consecutive to count 3, which will be life without parole, consecutive to count 18, which will be 8 to 12, consecutive to count 20, which is 8 to 12 years in prison.
Well, and just to correct, the Reagan-Tokes piece of this is complex, and that the actual sentence for count 18 and count 19 would be an 8-year minimum sentence on each, served consecutive, or 8 rather, an 8-year minimum sentence served consecutively with one another for a 16-year minimum prison term. And then under Reagan-Tokes, I'm required to take 50% of the most serious felony offense, which would be 18 or 20, doesn't matter, which is 4, add that to the minimum. So the actual sentence that if it was just Reagan-Tokes only would have been 16 to 20 years, and obviously served consecutively with counts 1, 2, and 3. Correct? And Mr. Myers, that's your understanding as well?
Yes, that's our understanding and our total agreement that I think the court has just now adequately, along with the state's counsel, summarized Reagan-Tokes.
I actually think that this is probably one of those cases that could have potentially been approved for the DP at the end of the day.
Yes. And there was a hearing they had I don't remember how long ago it was. The judge at the time, okay, I'm echoey again. All right, I'm not. But the judge at the time he was getting ready to retire, and you have to be there's not every judge can do that kind of a case, and the prosecutors were worried that it was going to take so long to get it to trial that he wasn't going to be there anymore, and he didn't know who was going to come in, and they didn't know who was going to come in to be the judge if they would have that qualification on them. It was an interesting argument because I didn't realize, at least
Yeah.
in Ohio, that you have to not just anybody can try those cases. So that was interesting too. So I'm glad it got taken care of before that even became an issue.
Absolutely.
As it really doesn't apply here.
Yeah, and I'll go through that through the plea because I have to, but nevertheless, we're all on board with that. And I know, Mr. Colby, you have discussed this fully with the victims in this case, and they're on board with this. They're in agreement with the plea agreement, with the agreed prison sentence, and they're also willing to go forward today with sentencing without the necessity of presenting a victim impact statement, which would normally be presented through a pre-sentence report. We'll address that momentarily as well, but that's correct.
That's all I have. Yes.
And this is obviously the best plea bargain that has been or will be presented to Mr. Doermen.
Correct.
All right. And that's your understanding as well, Mr. Myers.
It is.
All right. And as I've indicated, it is also the dismissal of the aggravating circumstances has been filed. So those are, as they say, off the table. And Mr. Doermen is not eligible for the death penalty. We discussed the aspect of the no longer the necessity of having a court reporter physically present in this process. And I know, Mr. Myers, we also discussed that as a result of the plea agreement, you will be, on behalf of Mr. Doermen, withdrawing his written plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, and you'll also be withdrawing the motion that was filed to be heard Monday regarding the serious mental illness factor under 29025. Is that correct?
It is correct on both issues, Judge.
Okay, and I'm sure you fully discussed that with Mr. Doermen, and he fully understands why that is being done.
I believe he does.
All right, thank you.
We have in fact discussed it.
I'm sorry?
And we have in fact discussed it with him.
Okay, I know. And I'm sure that you and Mr. Haynes have fully discussed the agreed prison sentence as well as the agreed prison sentence with Mr. Doermen, and he is in full agreement with proceeding today as outlined by the state, and of course your concurrence in the plea agreement and the agreed sentence.
It is correct, with sentence to be imposed today.
All right, and we'll go through that as well. And Mr. Doermen, prior to this agreement being made, did Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes fully review with you all the evidence that had been presented to you or to them, discussed with you all the possible defenses you may have to these charges, reviewed with you, explained the trial process for a death penalty case and the sentencing aspects of that, and did they answer all your questions regarding those matters sufficiently for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And your voice is strong enough, just keep it up. That's going to, we're obviously making recordings, so just make sure you keep your voice up. And before I ask you any questions going forward, I need to make sure that you have not taken anything, even prescription medication, that would interfere with your ability to understand and comprehend what you are doing this afternoon. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're clear-minded this afternoon?
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
And Mr. Myers, I know the two of you have met with him and discussed this matter with him. Obviously, you've had a number of contacts with him, obviously, but are you satisfied that with your discussions with him today and this afternoon that there's every indication that he's fully aware of what he's doing, not impaired in any way as far as being able to understand what he's doing and comprehend the process that we're about to engage?
Yes, Your Honor, that is my understanding, and I'm sure Mr. Haynes joins in that judgment as well.
All right, Mr. Haynes is nodding yes. And Mr. Doermen, up to this point in time, have you been able to understand everything that has been discussed, both what I have stated, what the prosecutor stated, what your counsel has stated up to this point in time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And if at any time during this process, Mr. Doermen, you want to talk with your attorneys about anything, just let me know and we'll make sure that you're able to do that privately and confidentially. And if you feel you need to take a break at any time during this process, again, let me know and we can accommodate that as well. And candidly, if something comes up, counsel need a break, we can take that break as well. Like I said, this is not a race. We just need to pursue this appropriately.
Is that too fast? Or is that doable?
It's not for me. The chat will have to.
All right, let
They'll
me know
have
if
to vote. But I'm good, so they'll have to vote. Whatever they decide is fine with
And
me.
Mr. Doermen, if at any time during the process, I say something to you that you do not understand, or I ask you a question that you do not understand, please do not hesitate to ask me to state it again, rephrase it. And if you still don't understand, you can talk to your counsel about it. You understand that. I know you graduated from Amelia High School. You attended Claremont College for a short period of time. And I'm sure that you fully understand and comprehend the English language. Is that correct? Fair to say? All right. And it's very important, Mr. Doermen, for you to fully understand that the decisions you're making and the consequences of those decisions. And I must rely on your responses to my questions to determine that you do understand what you're doing here today, that you're entering your pleas knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, and that if at any time there is a question, you need to let me know so I can clarify that. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you should not interpret anything that I say here today as any type of an indication that I think you should or should not plead guilty. I'm not trying to talk you into or out of anything today. The decision of whether to plead guilty or not to plead guilty is yours alone. You understand that?
Yes.
Right. I'm going to review the indictment with you initially prior to entering the plea agreement process so that there's a clear understanding of what you were originally facing. There's a total of 21 separate charges in the indictment. Counts 1 through 9 each allege aggravated murder as an unclassified felony, and each also allege 3 aggravating circumstances. There's 1 firearm specification as to the first 9 counts. There's also a firearm forfeiture specification as well. And if you have been convicted on any 1 or more of counts 1 through 9 and any 1 or more of the aggravated circumstances in each of these counts, you would possibly face the death penalty. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
The counts 10 through 17 each allege kidnapping, and each also allege one firearm specification and 1 firearm forfeiture specification. You understand that? Counts 18 through 21 allege felonious assault, and each also allege 1 firearm specification and 1 firearm forfeiture specification as well. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll now explain the charges that are part of the plea agreement. And this plea agreement is, as the prosecutor stated, you'll be entering a plea of guilty to count 1, aggravated murder as an unclassified felony. Count 2, aggravated murder as an unclassified felony. Count 3, aggravated murder as an unclassified felony. Count 18, felonious assault, a felony of the 2nd degree. And count 20, felonious assault as a felony of the 2nd degree. In exchange for your pleas of guilty to counts 1, 2, 3, 18, and 20, the state will dismiss and actually have dismissed all the aggravating circumstances that would have made you eligible for the death penalty as to counts 1 through 9. All firearm specifications that were applicable as to counts, all 21 counts, are being dismissed. You're going to agree to forfeit the firearm only. And then the state obviously then will be dismissing counts 4 through 9, the other aggravated murder counts, counts 10 through 17, the kidnapping charges, and counts 19 and 21 felonious assault charges. So with the dismissal of all the aggravating circumstances in counts 1 through 9, and in particular counts 1, 2, and 3, the counts you are entering your pleas to this afternoon have eliminated the potential for any death penalty. You understand that? In addition to pleading guilty to counts 1, 2, and 3, you and the state are recommending what I refer to as a jointly recommended agreed sentence as to these 3 counts, and I'll discuss the other 2 momentarily. In each of these 3 counts, you agree that the court will impose today a sentence of life in prison without the chance of parole for count 1, the same sentence in count 2, and the same sentence in count 3. And all of these sentences will be served consecutively with one another. That may sound somewhat unusual because life without parole is life without parole, but essentially they're being ordered to be served consecutively so that it is unmistakably clear that you will spend the rest of your life in prison with no chance for parole. So you understand those sentences and the consequences of those sentences.
Yes, sir.
And again, these will be served consecutively with one another. As to counts 18 and 20, they are second-degree felony offenses, and the jointly recommended agreed prison term as to each of these 2 counts is a minimum of 8 years on each count. Each minimum sentence will be served consecutively with one another, so I total those to arrive at a total minimum prison term of 16 years. Under the Reagan-Tokes Indefinite Sentencing Act, I'm required then to take 50% of only one of the most serious second-degree felony offenses, which would be 4 years. I then add that to the total minimum sentence to get to 20 years. So if this was a Reagan-Tokes sentencing only, the indefinite prison term you would serve is 16 to 20. Obviously, that 16 to 20 years it's going to be served consecutively as well, but it will be totally consumed, if you will, by life without parole.
So basically, you got 3 sentences without parole to be served consecutively with the 20 on top of that, which will be consumed within that, obviously, life without parole.
Prison sentence, which is why we are eliminating any reference to potential early release date, because it's a vain act. There is no early release date for you. You understand that? So you understand the sentences that are going to be imposed at this point in time as to counts 1, 2, and 3, and as to 18 and 20. And just so that there's no misunderstandings, no misconception of anything that I'm talking about today, I will impose the sentence I've just discussed with you today. And we will proceed with that sentencing, obviously, at the appropriate point in time. And other than what I've just explained to you in terms of the number of charges that you're in your pleas to, the agreed prison sentence that you're entering your pleas to, the dismissal of all the aggravating circumstances in counts 1 through 9, the dismissal of all the firearm specifications in all counts and the agreed sentence, obviously, that I've just gone over with you. Has anyone else made any type of a promise to you whatsoever to have you enter into this plea agreement and these agreed sentences this afternoon?
No.
Okay. I mean, I promise that I will impose the sentence that I just described to you, but other than that promise, no one else has promised anything else to you to have you enter your pleas of guilty this afternoon. And before we start the actual plea process and the sentencing process, it's important that I advise you of the nature of the various charges that you're pleading guilty to and the potential penalties that you are exposed to, irrespective of the agreed sentence. In count 1, it is alleged that on or about June 15, 2023, in Claremont County, Ohio, you purposely and with prior calculation and design caused the death of Clayton Doermen. This is in violation of 290301 and is an unclassified felony. Do you understand the nature of count 1?
Yes, sir.
Count 2 alleged that on or about June 15, 2023, in Claremont County, Ohio, you purposely you did purposely and with prior calculation and design cause the death of Hunter Doermen in violation of 290301, and that is also an unclassified felony. You understand the nature of count 2.
Yes, sir.
Count 3 is on or about June 15, 2023, again in Claremont County, Ohio. You did purposely and with prior calculation and design caused the death of, did I say Hunter was, this is the Chase's count 3, Chase Doermen, an unclassified felony. You understand the nature of count 3. Count 18 alleged that on or about June 15, 2023, in Claremont County, Ohio, you knowingly caused or attempted to cause physical harm to Alexis Skeen by means of a deadly weapon or dangerous ordinance, a firearm. in violation of 2903.11A2, a felony of the second degree. You understand the nature of count 18. Count 20 alleges that on or about June 15, 2023 in Claremont County, Ohio, you knowingly caused or attempted to cause physical harm to Laura Doermen by means of a deadly weapon or dangerous ordinance, again, a firearm, and that, again, is in violation of 2903.11A2. You understand the nature of count 20.
Yes, sir.
The possible sentences for these various counts are as follows. As to counts 1, 2, and 3, those are all aggravated murder, all unclassified felonies. The possible sentences you could receive would be serving 20 years in prison before eligible for being for eligibility for parole, 25 years, a full 25 years in prison before eligibility for parole, 30 full years in prison before eligibility for parole, and then life in prison without the possibility of parole. You understand that? Yes. The maximum sentence I could impose, and that's count 1, would be life in prison without parole. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Count 2, life in prison without parole. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Count 3, life in prison without parole. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And I can and will order all of those 3 sentences to be served consecutively with one another. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
As to counts 18 and 20, because they are felonies of the second degree, it's a little more complicated to get to that, but you need to know what the penalties are and how we get there. Both of these, again, are felonies of the second degree. They carry a minimum 7 or 8 years in prison, and there are 2 charges. They both carry that same minimum prison option. And what I have to do is select a minimum sentence for each of those counts, and because they're 2 separate victims, I can order them to be served consecutively with one another. And once I determine that they will be served consecutively with one another, which will happen today, then once I have selected the minimum sentence, I add those together. I then take 50% of one of the most serious second degree felonies, add that to the minimum prison term total, and that's the indefinite prison sentence you could receive in this case. So as I'm going to impose an 8-year minimum sentence on each case, I'll total those together as they'll be served consecutively for a total of 16 minimum years in prison, a maximum prison term of 20 years. And again, those are going to be subsumed, if you will, by the indefinite or by the life in prison without the possibility of parole. So you understand how we get to that point.
Yes, sir.
And as to each of the first degree, or as to each of counts 1, 2, and 3, I can impose a maximum fine of $25,000, totaling $75,000. I will not do that. As to counts 18 and 20, the maximum fine on each is $15,000, accumulated $30,000. I'm not imposing a fine in that case. You understand that? And as a result of your pleading guilty this afternoon, Mr. Doermen, you're waiving following constitutional rights. You're waiving your right to a jury trial. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You're waiving your right to confrontation, which means if you had gone to any trial, your attorneys would have been able to question every witness under oath that came into court to testify against you. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You were waiving your right to compulsory process, which means if you had gone to any trial and you needed witnesses to help you defend yourself, I could have issued a subpoena, it's a court order. They would have been required to appear, even if they told you they did not want to be involved in your case. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You were waiving your right to require the state of Ohio to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt as to all the essential elements of the charges I've just read to you, regardless of the trial you chose to pursue. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You are waiving your right against self-incrimination by pleading guilty. Obviously, that's the most incriminating thing you could say. But had you gone to any trial, no one, not even this court, could have ordered you to take a seat in the witness chair and testify against yourself for any reason. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
By pleading guilty, you're surrendering the presumption of innocence that you have this afternoon. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
By pleading guilty, you'll be making a full and complete admission of your guilt to each of the 5 charges I just explained to you. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You'll also be admitting the truth of the facts that the prosecutor's going to read shortly that would enable me to find you guilty and proceed with sentencing. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And you are also accepting the jointly recommended agreed prison term, and you're waiving your right to appeal the sentence that can be imposed in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Throughout this process, you've been represented by Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes. Have they fully explained all 21 charges to you, the aggravated circumstances that were involved with counts 1 through 9, the other specifications that were involved in all 21 counts? Have they done that?
Yes, sir.
Have they explained in particular the nature of counts 1, 2, 3, 18, and 20, as well as the possible penalties associated with those 5 charges?
Yes, sir.
Have they also discussed with you and shown you all the to them that would, in essence, support any finding of guilt in this case? Have they fully discussed with you any and all possible defenses that you may have had in this case? I'm sure they've also fully explained to you that by pleading guilty, you're withdrawing the not guilty by reason of insanity plea. Is that correct? And you agree with that? They're also withdrawing the motion for the hearing on the serious mental illness that was scheduled for Monday, and you agree with that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sure that they have fully explained all the constitutional rights that you've just waived. Is that correct?
Yep.
And they have also fully explained the jointly recommended agreed prison sentence that will be imposed this afternoon. Is that also correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
By accepting by accepting the jointly recommended agreed prison sentence, you're waiving any option that you have, or right you may have had, for a pre-sentence report through the adult probation department. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're also waiving any right you may have had for an additional mental health evaluation through the probation department as part of the pre-sentence report, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have they answered all your questions? Oh, wait.
One moment.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's a selectivity between the big and plea and sentence. And the probation people themselves could have no evaluation. We don't need it for the sentence. That doesn't, let's do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that's what I was doing.
No. I think we clarified.
Okay, all right. Have they answered all your questions thoroughly? And at this point in time, are you satisfied that Mr. Myers and Mr. Dees have effectively represented you up to this point in time as to each and every aspect of the case that has transpired up to this point in time? That includes all the evaluations you've had for competency, but for the NGRI plea, the SMI portion of this, you're satisfied that they have fully, effectively represented you up to this point in time?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're obviously then satisfied with them as your attorneys.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, as to count one, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A, an unclassified felony, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Count two, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A, an unclassified felony, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Count three, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A, an unclassified felony, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Count 18, felonious assault in violation of 290311A2, how do you plead?
Guilty.
And count 20, felonious assault in violation of 290311A2, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Are you entering each of these pleas of your own free will?
Yes.
No one's forced you to enter these pleas at all, correct?
No.
Fine. And on behalf of the state, the statement of facts?
Yes, may I add?
Yes.
Please, court. On or about June 15, 2023, 1965 Laurel Lindale Road, Claremont County, Ohio, the defendant did purposely and with prior calculation and design caused the death of his three children, Clayton Doerman, age 7, Hunter Doerman, age 4, and Chase Doerman, age 3. On that date, Judge, June 15, 2023, the defendant returned home early from work and had his family, including his wife, Laura Doerman, with him. All three of the boys joined him in the master bedroom for a nap. At some point after lying down with the four of them, the defendant got out of bed, opened a gun safe that was next to the bed, removed a Marlin Model EC-22 rifle from the gun safe and loaded the magazine. The defendant shot his son, Hunter Doerman, twice while in the bedroom. His wife, Laura, began to render aid to Hunter, yelled for the other children to
That
go.
did not sound like a typewriter.
Laura's 14-year-old daughter, Alexis, who had been watching television in the family room, made her way to the master bedroom and witnessed the killing of Hunter. Alexis immediately began to run and indicated that Chasen had fled out the back door. Clayton had fled out the back door, and that CHAD Doerman was following Clayton. She ran to help to try to protect Clayton. Anyway, the three of them go out the back door. Clayton's first, then there's the defendant, and then Alexis. Alexis witnesses the defendant chase after Clayton, raised his rifle, fired numerous shots at Clayton as he fled, and saw Clayton fall in the field after he was struck by gunfire. Alexis then watched as the defendant approached Clayton while he's injured, lying on the ground, defenseless, and saw the defendant put a bullet in Clayton's head, killing him. The defendant, Alexis, Your Honor, ran back, fled into the residence where she picked up the youngest child, the little 3-year-old boy, Chase Doerman. She attempted to flee the residence with Chase to protect him, but the defendant saw her crossing the yard. The defendant gave chase, pointed the rifle directly at Alexis' head, and threatened to shoot Alexis if she did not drop Chase. Alexis put Chase down. He's crying the whole time. The defendant then pointed the firearm at Chase's head, but it just clicked. The magazine was empty. Alexis begged for the defendant not to shoot her. Chase then saw his mother, who had come outside at some point, trying to render aid to Hunter. So Chase runs to his mom. And then there's a very difficult situation that evolved where Laura and the defendant struggled over the weapon. Laura was bitten as she tried to protect Chase from the defendant. The defendant bit her. She put her thumb over the end of the barrel in an effort to stop the bullet. She was shot in the thumb. Ultimately, she had to drop Chase. During this point in time, the defendant was able to reload the firearm and point the gun at Chase's head and execute him, one round to his skull. Alexis, Your Honor, suffered serious physical harm as a result, or psychological harm as a result of being held at gunpoint, forced to surrender Chase to the defendant for his execution, and witnessing her stepfather execute her brothers. Laura suffered serious physical harm, obviously, as she was shot through the thumb. Police arrived. There was really nothing that, despite her desperate fighting to save the lives of her boys, there's nothing Laura Doerman could have done. Surrendered without incident. Acknowledged immediately, he did it, take me to jail. He later gave statements, Your Honor, that he had been thinking about killing his boys since October, that these thoughts of having to kill his sons were weighing so heavily on him that he hadn't slept in a few days. And those are the facts, Your Honor. Those are the facts that led to the death of Clayton Doermen, Hunter Doermen, and Chase Doermen, and the permanent, irreversible injuries to the psyche of Alexis and also Laura. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, any issues with those facts for the purposes of the plea?
Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Doermen, we accept and acknowledge that those are the operative facts that the state would rely upon to have carried its burden through the trial, and that those facts would have succeeded in carrying the burden through the trial had the jury rejected the insanity defense. We're pleading guilty today. We're not trying this court to you, much less anybody else in this court. I just ask this court to bear in mind the three reports of three different psychologists that are before the court and have been before the court, and simply add, not to dispute the sequence of the events, the lethality of the events, the horror, the tragedy of the events, but to add that but for some of the mental health issues that Chad had failed to address. He hopes others will not fail if ever they encounter that again.
And right there are the magic words Chad had failed to address. He'd been having these thoughts for months and did nothing about it.
I'm stuck on the daughter, the mom, and the little kids after hearing that and the choices that the daughter and the mother were forced to make because I can't imagine. I cannot imagine being in that position and knowing it's you or them or maybe both of you.
Fire brigade.
Yeah, I that's where I'm stuck on. Like, I don't mean to be cold. I don't give a crap about his mental health right now. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry.
No, but what I'm saying is this wouldn't have happened had he not failed to address it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying that to you. I was just saying that overall, like, I don't want to hear his attorney talk about what he didn't do because he didn't do it. and we're here. So
We need some form of torture every day that he's in there.
yeah, yeah, that was tough to hear. That was really tough. I knew, but to hear where all the injuries were just and what happened in that order was bad. That was rough.
And at point 4, there was mental health issues. It's fair to say, certainly 2 out of 3, if not all 3 of the psychologists will acknowledge even us this happening within their 0. But I also, by adding those facts, further acknowledge we're withdrawing the insanity defense. We understand the dispute between the experts on that. CHAD stands ready to proceed with this hearing and accept responsibility.
And Mr. Doermen, up to this point in time, once again, have you been able to hear and understand everything I have discussed with you, what your attorneys have stated, what the prosecutors have stated?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions, any misunderstandings, any disagreements with anything that's been said this afternoon?
No, Your Honor.
You were able to hear the statement of facts that the prosecutor read regarding the sequence of events as acknowledged by Mr. Myers to be accurate. Do you also believe that those are true?
Do I believe they're true? No.
Okay. You understand that they're accurate, that as your counsel has said, that's accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I need to review the guilty plea form with you at this point in time. And again, the guilty plea form sets out the charges that you're in your pleas to. They have counts 18 and 20, felonious assault as a felony of the 2nd degree, as statutory provisions, as possible penalties that are involved for those two, as the aggravated murder counts and counts 1 through 3 with the maximum sentence that penalties that are set forth for those 3 charges as well, potential fines, has the dismissal, if you will, of counts 4 through 9, 10 through 17, 19, and 21. And we're waiving any requirement to regarding Reagan Tokes and any post-release control because that's inapplicable in this Vain Act. And it also sets forth the agreed, jointly agreed recommended sentence of life without the possibility of parole as to counts 1, 2, and 3. Each of those sentences to be served consecutively with one another. And also the minimum prison term of 8 years on both counts 18 and 20, accumulated to a total minimum prison term of 16 years with a maximum prison term of 20 years, again subsumed, if you will, by the life without parole as to the first 3 counts. Were you able to review this with Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes before you signed it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand everything that was written on this document and the consequences of signing it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you sign it of your own free will?
Yes, Your Honor.
It has your signature on the back page. It appears to be in blue ink, but you signed this voluntarily after reviewing it with counsel and understanding the full consequences of signing this guilty plea form.
Yes, Your Honor.
Based upon your answers, then, Mr. Doermen, I'll find that your pleas have been entered knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, that you're guilty of counts 1, 2, and 3, each aggravated murder and classified felonies in violation of 290301A. And you're also guilty of felonious assault as alleged in counts 18 and 20, 2nd degree felonies in violation of 290311A2. And before we proceed with sentencing at this point, I'm going to take a short pause. Everybody can stay in place because the 2 victims in this, Laura Norman and Alexis, want to be here. And at this point in time, all cameras down, all any cell phones, any still photos, anything else in the off position. You're not to record either of these 2 women under any circumstances, and video, audio, and Ms. Barron Allen will read.
All right.
I don't understand why we couldn't hear the audio.
Yeah. I've got them written down if you want me to read them.
Yeah, I would like to know what they said, but I get why not showing them. That's fine. But why not let us hear what they said? Flash Fan, she's too smart to take a plea deal. Ugh. I tried to listen to her hearing. I could not.
Too narcissistic.
I got through about 20 minutes. And yeah.
I could not take her. I understand. And then go on. Like, you clearly don't.
All right. This is Laura Doerman's statement. Good afternoon. My name is Laura Doerman, and I am the mother of Alexis, Clayton, Hunter, and Chase. On June 15, 2023, my children and I went through a nightmare that most people cannot even begin to imagine. We grieve every day for my boys and we miss them so much. I understand that the plea and sentencing today may have come as a surprise to some people and that many people still have questions about what happened to Clayton, Hunter, and Chase. I know the prosecutor's office will be answering some of those questions at the press conference on Monday. I am in full agreement with how the criminal case was resolved and the decisions to end this criminal case with a plea and multiple life sentences brings some finality to the court case for my daughter and me. No punishment will ever bring my boys back. Having a guarantee that he will spend the rest of his life behind bars is what is best for my family. I would like to thank the Claremont County Sheriff's Office for all of their work on this case, especially Detectives Mike Ross and Sean Schubert. I'd like to thank all of the first responding officers and firefighters, paramedics who were there that day and did what they could for my boys and my family. Finally, I'd like to thank the prosecution team for their support and assistance through the court process. I have two requests from everyone here and everyone watching this. Please respect my family's privacy. We do not want media or individuals to try to contact us around this case. My daughter and I are real people who have to wake up every day and try to go on with our lives after losing the boys. We may just be a news story to you, but this is our reality. If you have any questions, please direct them to the prosecutor's office. My second request is for everyone to remember and to talk about Clayton, Hunter, and Chase for who they were before the events of June 15, 2023. Remember them as the three little boys who loved fishing, go-karting, and swimming. Remember them as the little boys who were always at the baseball fields or running around outside. Remember them as the boys who loved to have fun and were inseparable from one another. Their lives are not only about what happened to them, they are so much more than that. I love you, Clayton, Hunter, and Chase. Oh, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm. And this is the best I could find on Alexis's. So this was posted by Anjanette Levy on Discord, I think. Softball will never be the same. You made me a good ball player. I always want to tell you because I know you would be so proud of me. And Chad, I still work very hard on my grades and I was on the honour roll this year. Waking up on Christmas isn't the same anymore. I don't get to do any of the fun stuff anymore because they're not there and you took their lives. I want you to know when you took those three boys away, you took my life away and my mum's. It is so painful to see you in jail for the rest of your life because I never thought in a million years you would do this to your own family. But if I'm being honest, I don't think I will ever be able to hate you. You gave me an amazing life and gave me the best life I could have hoped for. Wow.
That's
pretty adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
adult is, I guess.
I don't think I could be that forgiving.
Right. I mean, she's honest about they didn't have a bad life. They had a bad day. And now they have now.
A bad life from that day.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Gabby, it's huge for her to say that. I mean, that shows a lot about her character. I wouldn't be able to write that. Not even a year later. No way. So hats off to her because they've already gone through all the first without them. And that's I think the most difficult to get through, or all the first when
Well,
somebody's
it's
not
just
there
on
anymore.
12 months, I think.
So
No,
yeah.
Don't disagree with the plea deal, but always in cases like this, it always is in the back of my mind that 10 years down the road, some whack job legislature is going to let these people out of jail. God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Because it's all been crazy lately, and I understand when people are sentenced to life and then they get to a certain age and they're ill and they're not really able to do anything, that they release them then. I don't have a problem with that. Because they've already been there. Might as well take them off our dollar,
Yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from, Brian, because so many things have changed over the last few years that it's insane. And it's kind of weird. The life in prison people don't worry me as much as somebody that would be sentenced for capital punishment, because they do weird things with those all the time. And I don't know where I sit on capital punishment anymore. I used to be for it, but then there's so many people that have been exonerated and saved from it that should never have been sentenced in the first place, let alone to that, or they're exonerated afterwards. That I don't know. It's like, we know he did this. He wouldn't be one of those people, but I couldn't stand 10 people in front of him that I didn't know for sure, just so he could have it.
Yeah, I understand that too.
So I don't know.
But I also
every
think that
day.
we don't see a lot of consequences. So in those cases that you just talked about, the conviction gets overturned, the person gets out of prison, but we don't see a lot of consequences for the people that put them there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
How did that happen? And I don't want to say a lot of times because I don't have the numbers or statistics, but there are cases where prosecutors and police commit some pretty heinous crimes and perform some awful activities to get that result.
Yep.
Well, right off the bat, I can take it.
Yeah. It is. It's a high number of people that have been falsely convicted and incarcerated. I don't remember right off. I don't know what it is. I think Carmen knows what it is. But like the guy I've told you about that we watched a month or so ago, that he'd been in prison for 34 years. And he finally got somebody to listen to his case. And he had I think the Innocence Project was involved in it, but the key witnesses had all recanted and said no, it wasn't him, and nobody would listen. Even there was people in prison that said, and they weren't getting out. There was no deal that they were going to get for it. Nothing. They said it was us. We did this. And he's out now. He tried to sue the state and couldn't. He's trying to sue the city. I think that one's still pending. And then they're trying to get the law changed so that people that do end up in his shoes can sue the state as well. And he is suing police officers, but this happened. They may not even be alive anymore. Because, like I said, it took him 34 years to get out.
Yeah, I think there's some kind of indemnity for prosecutors. I've read somewhere, don't quote me, but yeah, there is something that covers them.
And they even
I'm
had
sure
the
it's something like that qualified immunity for law
Immunity, yeah.
enforcement officers, something like that.
Yep.
But I mean, in those cases where, you know, I'm certain that there are cases where people were wrongfully convicted because it just happened. I mean, the evidence looked like it was, I mean, there was no wrongdoing. The prosecution was done in good faith, and that's just the way it came down.
Yeah.
But there are those cases that, you know, prosecutors hiding evidence or people making up evidence, people lying. And, you know, I think what we don't see is no consequences for that kind of stuff. And the consequences we do see are, okay, well, somebody is able to sue and they get money, but the people that actually perpetrated the wrongdoing just go on with their lives. There's no disincentive.
No fines, no bills, no costs, nothing.
Yeah, there's and I've only seen it one time. They've never reported on it again. A case up in Indianapolis where they were able to get the guy out of prison finally, and the victim's relative, and I can't remember if it's daughter or whatever, she helped to get him out. And then now those two are working together because they believe that they knew who it was. The police knew who it was all along and just ignored it. So, like, it was a crime that took place in downtown Indianapolis, and this guy was downtown, but he was in a building, and all the witnesses said that it wasn't him. He was in that. We know he was inside that building. He did not do this crime. This person, however, was not, and they never did anything with him. They just went for this guy. And so he's out now, but so you get out and you win $10 million. What's it get you? You don't get 34 years back or however long you were in there. You don't get anything back. You've missed all that time. And, you know, I think they're accused of hiding evidence. There's a lot of stuff that went on, and that's probably why the story just went away. It's probably why they're not talking about it anymore. But it was really interesting, just the one time I saw it, of how many things they were listing that were by the police, by the prosecutor, just everything that was done wrong to put this guy away for something he did not do.
Yep.
So,
and you're right, Flash, Karen Reed and Ty. They're two examples that sprang directly to my head for straight away.
And I know I talked about the Zachariah Anderson case a lot. That one, there was zero evidence. There was zero DNA evidence. There was zero. It was kind of going, I'm watching this going, why are we here?
Yeah.
And then when they found him guilty, I actually couldn't watch trials for a while. I could not. I couldn't believe
See, that's
it.
the thing too, is that I have a problem, obviously not a lawyer or a judge, but I don't think that I could put somebody or find somebody guilty of a capital M on circumstantial evidence.
No.
Yeah, I understand circumstantial evidence
there wasn't even that
can be used, but you know, if you don't have DNA and 5 reliable eyewitnesses or clear video, you know, it shouldn't be a capital case.
What they had, so it was in Wisconsin. I don't know if you're familiar with that trial or not.
I'm not, no.
It was in Wisconsin, of course, Kenosha, because it was Judge Schrader.
A lot of shit happens in Wisconsin.
It's bad. It was Schrader and Michael Gravely, the prosecutor. So Schrader was the judge in the Rittenhouse trial. Did a pretty good job in that one, in my opinion. But in between that one and this one, he had fallen. He had hit his head. he was not the same judge, and he wasn't the same anymore. You could tell. And this prosecutor, we watched a trial that he did, and he actually did a pretty clean job on it, but it was easy. Like, the witness was like there, they knew who did it. He didn't have to be dirty about anything. In Zachariah Anderson's case, for me, he was getting ready to have a big custody dispute with his on again, off again girlfriend. She starts dating this other guy, supposedly. He disappears. They've never found him. The day she gets so worried about him after they've only been seeing each other for like a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It was a very, very short time span. She calls the police to report him missing. She shows up at his apartment and immediately fingers Zach. And then his friend, who the missing guy owed money to, he shows up, and then he's pointing to Zach. I mean, it was so obvious to me that these people need to be investigated because they're setting this dude up, and they didn't even look at them. They had nothing. The state's witnesses were proving the defense's case the entire time. It was insane. And then it took the jury, I don't know, a couple days to come back with a verdict. And when they found him guilty of stalking, I was like, okay, this is compromised verdict. We're good. Like, it's going to be this, time served, go home. But they found him guilty of everything. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was so, it just deflated me because there's no evidence that this guy, he couldn't have lifted this man physically. This man was so much larger than him, and he had a bad back. And they're saying he rolled him up in a rug and carried him out of an apartment and put him in the back of a van and then put him wherever.
Did he?
Did they ever find him?
No.
So they never had a body either.
Hang on. Jody, I can't understand you.
Sorry.
I can't understand you. What'd you say?
There was another content creator that was actually going to recreate that because he weighed the same amount as the deceased, and he was going to recreate it. I think his name was Nick Starrow.
Oh yeah, Nick Starrow. Yeah. Oh no, Flash fan. No.
How long was that trial?
Maybe a week, maybe, if that, because it started. So I think there was a mistrial, and then it went to go again, and the defense was presenting like there was other actors here that you should be looking at, and that was there was the name of it escapes my memory of what it was that they violated. The state objected to her opening statements. The judge then took a couple of days to even decide if he was going to let them go forward or if he was going to do declare another mistrial because they had brought this up. I mean, she had text messages between people of, you're not going to know when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And then, like, you'll know when it happens, but I'm not telling you when it's going to happen. Like, they had text messages between his ex-girlfriend and her best friend. It's
well,
disgusting.
And that's a lot different. You're right for that judge, because that judge in the Rittenhouse case was ruling from the bench. He was not. Yeah. He wasn't taking 2 seconds to rule.
He was falling asleep on the bench.
I'm gonna watch that one.
He was telling stories on the bench of, he would just go off on these tangents of nothing that had any, back when I was a boy, tangents. And it's like, Judge, this doesn't have anything to do with what's happening here. And there was another one that I don't remember who was streaming it, but the judge was watching something and he said, Judge, scratch your nose if you're watching me. And the judge scratched his nose. but I don't remember who was streaming it. That it wasn't anybody I was watching. It came out, that kind of came out later. It was insane. The things the prosecutors pulled were, he told Judge Schrader, I'm going to walk up to the line of violating his rights. He said it. And I mean, it was the craziest thing I've seen.
I'm taking my laptop to work tonight. I'm going to watch that one.
I think I'm going to make that my weekend project too.
If you guys can't find it, because Court TV or Law and Crime chopped it up into little bitty sections that all made Zach look bad. I have it all. So, I mean, we can do it. I don't even care because I know a lot of people in my chat haven't seen it. So we can cover the thing because it needs out there. I know a lot of people are still talking about it, and his brother goes on a lot of people's streams and talks about it, just trying to keep the attention on it because it's so expensive just to get the appellate team and, you know, just to get the transcripts is, you know, that can be tens of thousands of dollars just to get the court transcripts. It's insane. But I have it all saved. And we can watch it because I don't even know if they still even have just the cutout sections that they put up of him. So we can do it. I'll be glad to do it. We've talked about it in my chat for a while of doing it. So you guys just let me know.
That sounds good.
Why not?
Yeah.
So it's
thumbs up for me.
All right. Sorry, I haven't even looking at chat over there. I'm sorry.
Steve put up a thing before that he's going through the Detective Pritchard's deposition from Ty's case. He's going live with it.
Is he finally doing that?
Apparently. I just got a notice from YouTube, but it's huge. It's massive. Yeah. And I do have a copy of it if you want me to share it on Discord, if anyone wants to print it out and read it or download it or whatever, but it's like hundreds of pages.
Yeah. That's the one, is the one I sent you that I had to send it by itself. Or actually, I think I had to chop it up and send it. It was so big.
Thank you. Yes.
And go ahead.
There's all the court minutes are out too from Friday's motion hearing that he had last Friday. But there's not a great deal of information on there, but I will I'll post them up at some point this week.
All right, folks, I am gonna have to sign off.
Yes, go get some rest.
So I can get be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for life-saving tonight.
Yes.
It's been a great time. Thanks for everyone in chat. And you guys have a great day. I'll see you Friday.
We're going to have some fun on Friday.
See you, Brian.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kathy. Bye, Bryce Sandwich. Well,
so
okay.
Friday, you happy to go ahead with what we were going to do?
Yeah.
Miss AJ?
Yes, I listened to the end yesterday, so if you can just email me kind of an idea of what you had in mind, so I know what to find to bring to the table.
Basically, anything that is funny and lighthearted or stupid. Like my thought was that stupid people doing stupid illegal things. So
okay, that's kind of the way I was going.
Lighthearted on Friday, and you bring one, I bring one, and Bry's going to bring one, and we'll just go through it and have a laugh for a change.
Okay, all right. How long do you want it to be? Don't say it, Gabby. I know that's what she said joke in there. I got it.
Oh, look, no, couple of hours, 2-3 hours max.
Okay.
Whatever, play it by ear. I'm easy. However you feel.
Okay.
So we're not on tomorrow. We're back same time, same place, Friday morning, 9 o'clock, correct?
Yes, that's fine.
That's fine. Fantastico. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here and joining us. It was a bit of a tragic case, but
I'm glad it's over for them.
They've lost, haven't they?
I mean, it's not over for them. It'll never be over for them. But I'm glad they can put a period here for this part of it and then heal the best that they can with the rest of it. Cause that's just not gonna, you don't.
Mm-hmm. If anyone's got any suggestions or on their travels, find something that's extremely funny or amusing or whatever, feel free to share it with us on the Discord channels. We do have a section that says live stream suggestions, so feel free to throw them in there.
Well, hello,
right.
Bob Smith.
You're a bit late, love.
Bob's probably working.
Yeah. And thanks, Gabby. You're a fantastic mod as per usual. And thanks, Bri, too, to every other mod that's been here for helping us. And yeah, we'll see you Friday.
Yep.
Thanks, AJ.
All right. See you, Jody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dee and Debbie here. Fill your screen with cheer. Hit like and tap subscribe. Join our